The reason that I love film noir is because it's the only genre that seems anxious to constantly examine itself. Uh, Film noir was one of the first genres that was about the idea of watching and figuring out movies uh, as both a sort of hobby and also a life's calling. You watch early film noir, and it's about investigating the sort of perversity of modern life. And one of the more perverse things that you could do was to go to the movies to watch people who were obscenely rich committing crimes, and in some cases getting away with it, but for the most part being discovered. Um, and that continues throughout the 60s, which is perhaps my favorite time for film noir, in movies like Pale Flower and Man Without a Map, two amazing 60s neo-noir from Japan. I think the idea is the more that you hold a mirror up to both society and a sort of image of society, the more the walls start to close in. And I've always enjoyed the sort of claustrophobic, paranoid sensation of watching movies investigate themselves and us in the audience watching them, because the idea of tuning in for, somebody following leads towards what is inevitably a very depressing scheme, announcing this or that diseased aspect of society. I think that that's a sort of a very sad impulse that we have always cultivated without much in the way of understanding what that means. And then you get to the 80s with things like Body Heat and Cutter and Bone, and those movies are very, very direct attacks on the sort of complacency and hegemony of forgetting all of the trauma that builds a society. Um, and I've always liked that in film noir, the whole idea is that you have to pick your country apart and your life apart and the people around you apart. And then when you try to put them back together, the pieces frequently don't fit. So I think that that's why noir's not going anywhere, because the idea that we look around and don't see anything that we recognize, or rather feel like we're the only people who see some grievous ill accosting the sum of civilization, and trying and failing to get people to see the same thing that we do. I think it's a very relatable idea, and yeah, that's why it's one of the great pleasures the cinema has to offer, is seeing someone struggle with something that I think most of us deal with every day when we go outside, just sort of at the store, wondering how is it that everybody just goes about their day knowing what we know about what it took to get us here. And that's what film noir is about, to me anyway, the best of it. So it's long live film noir.